To us, Ukrainians, every foreign person supporting our country is undoubtedly a hero, and that's the reason we are running this show in the first place. Because their help and support saves lives, and we feel privileged to talk about those people. And among international volunteers, there is a lot of people who not only help because they care, but also because they sincerely love Ukraine. Andrew Mercado, the US veteran and independent journalist from Minnesota, is one of them.
I'm Andrew Mercado. I'm an independent journalist, content creator, social media influencer, U.S. Army veteran. Just in the last 5 years or so, completely developed my own media company. And I've been using all of my resources from my social media to continue to fund a media company and cover current events, breaking news. I do a lot of it from home, but a lot of the times I try to get out and cover the story in person.
Andrew, you live basically on the other part of the globe. Why was the topic of Ukraine so important to you personally?
It was just wrong. I mean, I was flagged. So I was playing a video game when Russia invaded, the night that Russia had invaded Ukraine, and I have a platform for this too. So I had viewers, and I had a bunch of people flood into my chat telling me, "Hey, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine." And I didn't really know the severity of that and what all that meant at the time, but I was okay. Let's go find out. We watched Putin's speech, and then we had live streams from the CCTV cameras all around Ukraine, and we didn't even watch the news. We just watched the Russians enter the country. So I didn't know how the news was reporting the invasion, but we were watching it for ourselves. So I just got involved because we were like, it's a stream, and you're just watching Russians like enter Ukraine and attack civilians, and we saw a lot of it. We saw on the camera. We saw it on the CCTV camera. That was before we got uh, imagery of mass graves or the terrorism and violence that Russia's carried out through the war now. But the day one they were sending missiles at apartment buildings, and we just saw all this. So it was just something I guess inside of me that was like, this is wrong, and I should focus on this. So this was before I switched to fundraising and helping, but at first it was like, we're going to focus on what's happening to Ukraine with my news coverage and my stream.
How did you decide to come to Ukraine? What was your motivation?
Yeah, I was going to come to Ukraine after the war. That's what everyone says, right? I'm going to come to Ukraine when the war ends, after the war. And I thought I was going to, but then an opportunity came up with the 69th Sniffing Brigade in NAFO, and they had an opportunity to fundraise for trucks. But then not only that, you could go to Ukraine and deliver the truck yourself and watch the soldiers, grab the truck and leave with it. And as someone that does like, independent media and right on the ground information, I felt like people that wanted to support Ukraine had an amazing opportunity to get transparency through the whole thing. So that's when I was like, okay, well, I'll go. I'll go on the convoy. And when I served in the Army, I was a 88 Mike motor transport operator, which was a truck driver, and I did convoys in the military. So I'm like, well, we're going into Ukraine. It's going to likely be a similar type of convoy. It's with civilians, but this is an opportunity I can put some of my skills to outside of the military now and help. So yeah, I flew to Tallinn and hopped on the convoy, and I've done five of them now. I've done 5 trips with trucks, and that's how we got involved, was just the fundraising and then just the extra level of transparency, because we had learned that not all of the fundraising destinations were, we didn't know that that money was for sure going to get to Ukrainians or like Ukraine. But a lot of hands were likely touching the money before it finally got to where it was going. So that's when I started looking for more grassroots fundraising and people that were like showing you everything. Like, here's your money, here's what you fundraised, there's the Ukrainian soldier, and then there they go with it. And there's lots of other fundraisers like that. But with the 69th Shipping Brigade, it was too easy. I was able to both translate my military experience and help, and that was just awesome. And that's how I got involved with going to Ukraine.
What can you tell about the audience that watches your channel, the audience of Ukraine supporters?
My audience is amazing. I mean, they've been with me now for over 3 years, I had a platform before, so I'd carried over a lot of my viewers and people that support Ukraine or prior from the protests in the U.S. and everything that was happening. You know, I kind of meshed them together, and I had this brand new following from people that support Ukraine, and yeah, they're very involved. I mean, it's probably the most involved community I've ever seen for anything. People try to help causes and they support them, but this is a whole other level. I mean, people are trying to help a country survive and fundraise for things that are desperately needed. It's not just like random things that just, it's like everything that is fundraised that I've seen is used and used to the fullest extent that it can, and it's just all so much appreciated. And that's the other thing too, is the Ukrainian people and the soldiers appreciate everything. There's never like, oh, give us this, we need this. No, it's thank you so much. We couldn't thank you enough. And the community that follows me and supports me also supports you and Operator Starsky channel and UATV, and they support many other platforms and content creators that, you know, try to support Ukraine too. So it's a community that doesn't just support me, but they support, I think, every pro-Ukraine influencer, or the majority of them.
Are they just local American audience or primarily American audience, or do they come from all around the world?
No, it's an international audience. It's an international, worldwide um, community. I mean, I have people here from my home state that follow me for Ukraine, and they'll come up and talk to me too. They'll come up and say hi, or they'll say, "Oh, I love your Ukraine stuff," and they live here in my home state. But there's people that I met in Latvia or whatever that watch or something, and it's just wild. But yeah, that's a whole international effort. It's not just my home city or my home state, or like my little thing. It's seriously like international, global.
Andrew, you visited Kiev multiple times. You fundraised for trucks, drones, and brought them to Kiev. And you even ran a morning show on a YouTube for a while you were staying in Kiev. What were your biggest impressions from your trips to Ukraine?
Man, it's got to be just the traditionalism and how much people care about the customs, like the environment. It just felt like it felt like things that I was raised on, I guess, as a child, and like this community, or like the people there. Everyone's working together. Everyone's talking. I mean, you go for a walk; it's just beautiful, and people will talk to you, even if it's in broken English, or you'd go and you try and use the Google Translate app. It was just really fun interacting with Ukrainians and like other people than the Americans, or outside of my own realm of people that I know. So that was cool. The morning show was a random idea. We didn't even think of that. It was literally just a stream one morning with me and Alex, who also was a volunteer at the 69th Stiffing Brigade, and we just wanted to talk about what it's like being in Kyiv and being in Ukraine during the war. And then it quickly turned into, well, who should we bring on for an interview maybe and talk to him? And then you came on multiple times. You had been off, so you were like a regular on there for a little bit. And then it just turned into just asking people questions, because it's very important. People are there in Kyiv right now reporting on the war. Kyiv just experienced one of the biggest attacks of the entire war last night. So these stories are very important, both from Ukrainians, international volunteers, and the people that are there on the ground. Kyiv is one thing, but when you get to the other cities too, in the front lines, and you go to Kharkiv, and you go to Kramatorsk, and you go to the south, it's all stories that are very important to tell. So, like Brandon Mitchell came off the front line with the Brandon Mitchell YouTube channel, and he told us about his experiences, and it was just a really good way to find out what it's like there in Ukraine at war. And there's a resiliency. I mean, the people are, of course, there's the terror is there every day. The air raid alarms go off multiple times a day. At this point, from when I went to Ukraine last year to now, I would say the attacks have escalated, and Kyiv and other places are getting hit more often and harder now. So it's a resilience, because the Ukrainian people want their independence. They want to live in their own country, free from Russian control. And as an American, I empathize with that right away. I mean, today is the 4th of July. It's our Independence Day. We broke free from the British rule, and I see the same fight that Ukraine is fighting against Russian control and imperialism. And and Ukraine wants to be an independent country, and that's just as simple as that for me. Like Ukraine wants to have its own manifest destiny. It wants to own trade deals, own whatever, and Ukraine should have the right to do that. They shouldn't be controlled by Russia.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention the 4th of July, and if you can see the similarities between what was happening back then and what's happening nowadays in Ukraine. That's absolutely amazing analogy. But have you visited frontline cities in Ukraine, or cities that were frontline previously?
Yes, Kharkiv, Izium, Kramatorsk. We've been about 10 kilometers outside of Avdiivka 2 years ago before it was occupied. And we went to a position and brought some supplies out to guys at an artillery position. And we got to go underneath and see how they live. And like I served in the army, and we didn't have to live underground. We didn't have to live like we'd have field exercises, I guess, but that's training. Like that's not, you're fighting Russians or like you're fighting a whole other country, and this is your fighting position. And it's basically like what I saw was what the army had taught me, but we never got to really do that. Like we were doing convoys, we were looking for IEDs, dudes in sandals, that wanted to harm us, cell phones, but that it was a completely different war compared to what Ukraine is fighting. And those frontline cities are just, and Ukraine does everything they can to clean up, but it's in some of the smaller villages or smaller cities, the damage is still there, even from 2 years ago or right now. Well, a city was hit now, or a liberated city from a couple of years ago during the counteroffensive, the damage is still there to see. So anywhere you go, like honestly, as soon as you get to Kharkiv and then you start going south, you're seeing a lot of the damage. Or if it's been cleaned up, there's a lot of mines, and they got the red triangle flags out there and like warning you, don't go in here, there's mines in there, we haven't demined this. And that is pretty scary, because say you want to go back to your hometown, you're Ukrainian, you want to go back to your frontline village, you might not be able to go back, or you can, but you can't have your kids playing in the grass or in the fields. And I noticed, like when I visited a village, Ukrainian children love running around in the fields and just playing outside, which is awesome. And that's very dangerous when you have mines in your fields. So yeah, it was very eye-opening. We were able to report on the front lines and what that was like, and I did a couple of vlogs. Obviously, because of operational security, I'm not streaming at the front lines, because that's something Russians do, and we've actually seen Russians film like, hey, here we are, we're in this spot, and then Ukraine sends them a gift. So I already know I couldn't do streaming at the front line, so I had to learn how to do vlogging and do videos. And so I was doing my journalism best I could there, but also trying to help and bring aid. And with the Greg Terry Experience YouTube channel, we teamed up with Rick the Ukrainian, and Greg does this all the time, and Rick's gone on a couple more trips, but we were bringing medical supplies, food that they wanted, energy drinks, of course, more like we delivered trucks with the NAFO 69th Sniffing Brigade, and that's like a big item and big spending. But also I got to experience some of the smaller spending. Some guys wanted tomatoes, or they wanted this candy or whatever, and like we'd bring them out to the position, or we'd meet them in just the rear city so then they could grab their stuff and then go back out to the zero line. And that was just a pretty surreal experience, because it's one thing to do it from home here. That's another to be in Kyiv, but again, Kyiv has been getting hit more and more, so the war is pretty prevalent. But then when you get to the frontline cities, it's like you truly see humanity there, in ways that I never thought I would experience.
Was there something that you have witnessed in Ukraine that will remain in your memory forever?
Oh, there's so many. I probably maybe the first day we drove in, like when we're driving into Kyiv and you got the soccer ball because the World Cup was there, and then you're getting to the city and it's just like you see it was because I'd seen Ukraine only on the videos, or like through the computer, through the internet. So seeing it in person and being there, and it was just like this massive city, and like it was way bigger than what it looks like on the internet, that's for sure. And yeah, just the walking around the layout of the city, the infrastructure of Kyiv. But honestly, overall, it'd be the resiliency of the whole country, because I think Americans probably would have given up already. As sad as that is to say, I don't think we're built like Ukrainians in terms of the resiliency, and people will literally like get bombed and attacked, and then they'll find a way to go on about their day because they have to, or because they have to work, or they have to take care of their family, and they don't have time to just like stop, even though missiles are coming and the sky isn't safe. So yeah, it's the most amazing thing too. It's just been the visuals and like just being in Ukraine and being in a different country, but also a country that cares about itself, and also the resilience of the Ukrainian people.
Andrew, tell me this: what was the most inspiring thing you have experienced or witnessed in Ukraine?
Inspiring would be the front lines and the frontline cities. When we went to Bucha, and the graves were there, and we had seen, again, we had seen everything from the videos, but being there on the ground in person and being around it, that I don't want to, it's like it was inspiring to be able to see. It just goes back to the resiliency and people that are fighting. They're fighting through adversity. So I mean, you can't really put into words without being extra graphic about the nature of a mass grave and the executions that the Russians were conducting to civilians. But it's the no one stopped at that point. People continue to fight. They continue to help. They continue to do everything they can, and that is what is inspiring to me. Is seeing that, and then like when I have a bad day or when I'm down and out, like I think like, dang, think of what Ukrainians are going through right now. It's just maybe my own thing, and I know everyone might not be the same, but it helps me get through hard times because I'm like, man, like I'm having a bad day because the weather's bad. Like think of my Ukrainian friends that have missiles coming in, and it's like inspiring in a different way, but it still is. I still think that the fight against this giant terror country that wants nothing but to just own everything and take up all the European countries, take them back, and fighting against that still 3+ years later is in itself inspiring.
Do you think your experience in Ukraine turned you into a different person, or maybe your experience just reinforced some of your beliefs and principles that you've had?
Yeah, I think it reminded me of them because a lot of it is what we fought for in the army, and a lot of it is what our country is supposed to stand for, I guess. And so when I'm seeing Ukraine fight for all of these principles and for all of the things that I swore an oath to defend, it reaffirmed all of that for me. It wasn't just words, I guess. It became more of like okay, this is what those words are in real life, like in practice. Not just we're swearing an oath to defend people in Ukraine. They're defending the country, actually, literally. And if they don't, then the Russians take that land, and it sucks. But that is the reality of that. Is that I got to experience the things that I've swore to defend in person, IRL. And when we're fighting, I mean, like I said, I served in the military, but I don't. It didn't feel like we were defending America. It felt like we were doing something else. Like we were in the Middle East. That wasn't America. I mean, in theory, like people say, soldiers keep the country safe, and I get that. But I mean, Ukraine's literally fighting for their land and like their territory, like their backyard or the Ukrainians' backyard. And in the United States, I don't think we've really had a fight like that, except for in the Civil War, Revolutionary War, War of 1812. But beyond that, it's been quite a long time since we've had a fight that is like a just cause, I would say. And I think support. That's why, as an American, I support Ukraine because it is a just cause. It isn't like this two imperial powers that want to go and send their young to die. That cringe tanky tank. And no, it's Ukraine has to defend their country, or like I've said, the Russians will take that land through force. And so there's no other choice but to defend and help Ukraine.
Are there people in the United States, maybe among your friends or family, who don't support what you're doing for Ukraine?
No, no one doesn't support it, but I think some people just don't talk about it to me, or they don't say anything because they're in their bias, or they watch a news source and like they're afraid to support Ukraine because they were told that it takes all of our taxpayer money, so they don't even talk to me about it. But yeah, I have that more than people that are like, except for social media people or like your social media followers, but I don't consider those like close voices that are impactful. Like my family and friends, they support me personally doing what I'm doing. But in terms of like understanding the conflict and why it's important to support, um, I'd say it's like 50-50. It's mostly ignorance. It's mostly ignorance, and then the fault of media sources that don't tell the truth.
What do you like or dislike the most about Ukrainian people? Honest answer only, please.
What I like most, the social aspect. The everything is a social gathering. You're gonna have a good conversation. You're probably gonna have a snack or food will be served, likely, or some type of beverage will be served. And I like that actually because I'm actually not a big extrovert. Like I'm not a social person really. But in Ukraine, you don't have a choice. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna be at a table and you're gonna have a good conversation and whether I mean even if you don't talk much, like people are saying important things, or I just like the social aspect of it. Um, I didn't I can't say anything I didn't like. Well, I don't know. I think Ukraine could knock down some more Soviet statues. I think that could happen. But that's probably for something after the war. But beyond that, the people are great. I don't have anything bad to say about the people.
Are they similar or are they different from American people, from, again, your friends or your family?
Um, it depends on where they're from. But I'd say like Ukrainians are very hardworking, very traditional, and I feel like a lot of Americans are that way. But a lot of Americans also try to LARP that, or like they pretend like they're traditional family values, hardworking, go work out in the field or go work out in the farm, and then they don't do that, or like they pretend they do, or they LARP about it, but it doesn't actually happen.
In your personal opinion, what should the world put more effort into in order to help Ukrainian people today?
Oh, weapons, defensive weapons, offensive weapons. That needs to happen, and needs to continue to happen. That's why I started getting involved in the legislative process and going to Washington D.C. because I was tired of the delay in aid. I was tired of it taking forever, and that is truly what Ukraine needs. Russia's proven that they're not going to sit down at a table and hash it out diplomatically. They're not going to do that. They literally refused. So the only way to end the war is to help Ukraine win, or help Ukraine push the Russians out of their land until the Russians want to come to which I don't think they will, because they want Ukraine and they want more than just Ukraine. So yeah, the best way that the world can help Ukraine is weapons, Patriot missile systems, defensive systems, long range missiles, precision missiles. Like Ukraine needs it all, honestly. We were doing not enough with the previous administration. Like that's why I got involved, because while we were helping, it wasn't enough. But now we're like nothing at all. So it's unfortunate that's the position the United States has taken. But yeah, that's truly what will help um, is weapons.
What would you say to all those people who say that there's Nazi in Ukraine and things like that? Generally, have you seen a lot of Nazi in Ukraine?
No, I've seen more. I've seen more Nazis from Russia and Rusich, or in America too. In my country, I've seen them openly Nazi. In Ukraine, though, no, I haven't seen. I didn't see that anywhere actually. They were like, okay, if I'm being honest, there's maybe like some more far right or units maybe, or like maybe they're more nationalist for Ukraine. But I can empathize with that because they're fighting for their country, and the country is going to be taken if they don't. So that can bring about some more, more extreme ideals, but nothing like Nazi, from what I saw, or nothing that would fit the bill of the Russian propaganda about all of their justifications to invade Ukraine. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't see that at all. I've been there 5 times, past 3 years, didn't see that at all.
And traditionally, is there something you'd like to say to Ukrainian people as well as our international family watching us right now?
Yeah, just keep supporting Ukraine, keep helping Ukraine as best as we can, help them stay in the fight, and Ukraine will win. We just have to stay resilient with it, like the Ukrainian people are. It's tough right now. the current climate and American government is not friendly to Ukraine, but we just got to keep helping as best as we can, get through it. Hopefully, we can get a president that is interested in European freedom because it's being taken by Russia right now.
Andrew Mercado spent a lot of time in Ukraine, not only covering the situation around Kyiv and the front lines, but also learning Ukrainian culture and showing that the true power is not about weapons or personnel, but about decency and friendship, something that every supporter of Ukraine carries deep inside. My name is Operator Starsky. Thanks for watching.